broken things can become a blessing if you let God do the mending. Welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network, where dynamic women will share their experiences that will inspire, and experiences that have turned out to be a blessing. Now here's your host, Samantha McNeil.
Hello again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Broken to be Blessed Network. Thank you for liking, for commenting, for subscribing. It's really a joy to have you tuning in and joining and being a part of what God is doing in this season. Today, I have with me a wonderful lady. And before I introduce her to you, this quote so much speaks to what she's about to share with us. As I reflect, I realize that most of the times, all of us can attest that we don't like to hear the word no. We don't like to be disappointed. We don't like when the door is shut in our faces at no point at all. And here I find a quote which says, life is not always a celebration. So be ready to courageously face disappointments. And when they come, be sure to know that you will grow stronger and wiser from them. I'm going to welcome our guest today.
Joining us on set today is Davene Harris, a multi-level educator who was born in Jamaica and now resides in Canada. She will share her story of faith and trust in God. In her book, When God Speaks Through No's, her life experiences prove that she is a little lady with a lot of faith. Davene became a Christian at a very young age and has had many experiences of God being faithful to her. In the last few years, she began paying attention to how God speaks to her. She has been trained to teach at the early childhood, secondary, and post-secondary levels, specializing in mathematics and computer studies, with over 15 years of classroom experience. Davene is also a Christian counselor, and recently she completed her Master's of Arts in Sociology, and she's now awaiting licensure to practice counseling and psychology in Ontario, Canada. Help me welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network today, Davene Harris.
Hello. Hello, Davene. How are you today?
Hi, Samantha. I am doing well. I am so happy and thankful to be here on the Broken to be Blessed Network. How are you?
I'm doing good. Awesome. Happy to have you sharing with us today. And you allow me to laugh when you said a little lady with a big face. And we are ready to hear all about your journey. We understand and have we heard in her introduction, her book. I guess that's one of the big standout that says, and we know that we don't like to hear no. I'm afraid of it too. And we are afraid of disappointment. But she mentioned that she has encountered different experiences throughout her faith, and we are ready to hear her journey today. It's over to you, Davene.
Thank you, Samantha, and thank you everyone for joining in. I, I often think of my journey not just of one of faith, but one of what I call risky faith. It's that faith that puts God in perspective. It allows you to see Him as He says He is. It's not just what you've been told when you go to church, but it's when you have that special encounter with God to understand that, listen, whatever He says He'll do, He's going to do it, and you just need to have that risky faith. So my journey, which is outlined in my book, When God Speaks Through No's, which you can find exclusively on Amazon. basically began in 2014 while I was doing my undergraduate studies, and I got an opportunity to finish my studies in Canada through a scholarship. And having passed through the scholarship process and was now awaiting the final say to basically migrate from Jamaica to Canada, just a couple days before, I was told that the school in Canada made a decision to only take one of two students. So myself and somebody else, we were successful, and they decided only to settle with one student. And as you can imagine, I wasn't the student that they selected. So that was a big no for me. I was able to understand what rejection felt like, I guess, for the very first time in my life in that magnitude, because I was really looking forward to this opportunity, and being told that no, we selected the other person, um, it was just a blow to the face basically. And so I remember asking God, why? Like, why would you, let me go through the process successfully? Every single thing that I had to do was well done, and then at the last minute to be told no, it was almost like, okay, God, what are you up to? And I remember crying and just being in a place of total disappointment, like, God, why would you do this? And speaking to my Sunday school teacher, and she asked me, in trying to help me to work through what was going on, she asked me, what is it that I look forward to when I go to work? And I said to her, well, on a weekly basis on Wednesdays, I would meet with a group of students, we'd have fasting and prayer. And she said, what if God is not ready for you to leave yet because he has somebody else or another group of students that you need to impact? And it was almost like a rebuke, but it was done with so much love. It was putting, for me, in perspective the fact that what I thought was my timing was not God's timing. And so it helped to kind of ease the pain of what I was feeling in that moment, because it made me understand that, you know what, if God has a purpose for you here, then nothing can thwart the purpose of God. And so along the journey now, I realized that the desire to go to Canada did not leave. And I remember working at that particular job and saying to the Lord on many occasions when I felt as if, they wouldn't renew my contract, or something was just not going well. I said, God, you gave me this job. And when it's time for me to leave, you are going to let me know. So I'm not going to be worried about anything else. And I just want to pause here for a moment to say a relationship with God is very essential. And I'm not talking about the stuff that you've heard people talk about. I'm talking about what you've experienced for yourself. That going to God as your father, sitting in his lap and having conversations with him about what's going on in your life. And so that basically began those kind of encounters for me. That process of rejection and disappointment allowed me to just talk to God on a regular basis about what was going on, what I felt that he was leading me towards. And I remember when I got the confirmation in my spirit that your time here at this institution is coming to an end, I was asked to take on additional workload that I know I could not I couldn't manage. And I was like, okay, God, you see that you're up to something. And just by relaxing in the office one day, trying to just take off whatever was going through my mind, and just going on Facebook and seeing an advertisement that was confirming things that I was talking to the Lord about, and thereby applying to study in Canada for Montessori education. So it was through an agency, and the process in of itself, which I have outlined, in the book,
So
was
we
was
want
an
we want to
interesting one.
understand. We want to understand though, David. You because we want the listeners to feel and to understand and know that it's not just a breeze from being rejected and feel disappointed into, oh Lord, I accept this. We
Oh
want
no,
you
it
to
wasn't.
we want you to paint that picture and let us understand how long it was. Was it 2 weeks? Was it a month? How long was it? And how long did you sob and cry before you realize that, okay, God, I now accept that you're not do this is not the time, so I'm now gonna change my mind and I'm now gonna hold on to what you're saying. We want you to
Yeah,
help us to understand that, because as I said, I don't want the listeners to feel like, oh, it's just okay, Lord, and you just jump over.
yeah,
What was
true.
it?
And I
Right.
apologize because I really don't want anybody to think that's how the process is. Believe you me, it's not a yesterday disappointment and tomorrow you're excited and you're back on your feet. No, it was, in my opinion, days of crying, because what had happened for me was persons who I was very close to. I told them, this opportunity came up and I am going to be leaving in a couple of weeks. So, and I remember the day in question when I got that phone call. It was one of my friend's birthday, and I love celebrating, birthdays, and I was just not in a celebratory mood. And I remember for a couple days on end going to church, being around my friends, just being disappointed. And I remember though when my Sunday school teacher put that in perspective for me, it kind of started changing my perspective that, you know what, it's not a final no, it's a not yet. And that for me was something new, because like, okay, what's going on? God, you brought me through the steps, and then at the final part, it's a no. And so for her to help me to recognize it, it's probably just a not yet. So keep praying, keep talking to the Lord, keep enhancing your relationship with him, find out what's going on. And it was that kind of a process for me. So this rejection happened in 2014. And then the recognition now of my time at where I was working coming to an end began in, I guess, mid 2015, and later on in the year, so probably about October, September, October. And but finding that advertisement and beginning that process at the end of 2015, recognizing that, as I said, the things that I was talking to God about now, because this desire for wanting to go to Canada was just intensifying. And I'm like, okay, God, if you are putting this desire in me, then it means that you are going to
That was after the no, the
have
disappointed,
to
after
know.
planning to go. There was
Yeah,
a new opportunity after about 6, 7 months later.
yes, yes.
Wow.
So the desire was there, and I'm like, okay, God, what is going on. So being able to just go on Facebook one day and see that advertisement lining up with what I was feeling about my job and feeling about migrating, and the two things coming together in that one advertisement, I was like, okay, God, this must be you. And so for me, I preface that discovery or that journey of, finding out the program that I was going to study and all that with God. I'm leaving this in your hands. This is a you thing, and I'm going to be following you. You do the leading, and I will follow. And so starting the process and wanting, money answers all things. The Bible wasn't lying when it said that. And seeing where God provided additional opportunities of employment for me to fund the application process. It was like, okay, you're seeing the hand of God, but it also allowed me to be humble, to expect anything, because we often think of God. Sometimes I refer to the way we think of God as, Santa Claus, even though we don't believe in Santa Claus, but it's almost the idea of you make a wish or you write down your wish for Christmas and you're expecting to see it on Christmas Day. And God is not like that. He's our father, he's our friend, but he's also the person who knows us more than anybody else. So whatever he's going to dictate for our lives, he has it set a particular way. So we see it level like this, but he sees it, like the heartbeat monitor. Yeah, he does the twisting and the turning, and And that is perfect will for us. That's what we need to understand. So we probably see perfection this way, and God see perfection in all other different, definitely. So seeing him providing those additional opportunities and getting me to the place of accepting that I'm walking this journey with him was very humbling for me. And so being connected to an agency now to take me through that process, I felt comfortable. I felt helped, and bringing myself to the place of getting all that I needed for applying to the visa center for my student visa. And I remember checking everything off the list, every single thing, everything the agent told me, even last minute, I made sure it was there, and I presented everything to the visa center, and I left it in the hand of God. And I said, God, you're on this journey with me, and this is where we're at now. You do your thing. And so it was just a matter of waiting. And that's another word we don't like as Christians, as believers. We don't like to wait. We want so I talk about the fact that sometimes we say that God is an on-time God, but in our minds when we sing that song, it's God is a my time God. And that's not what he is. He's a his time God. And we already know how the Bible tells us how he sees days and years different from how we do. So, that waiting process can be a little bit, or maybe a lot, frustrating. It's like you're wondering what's going on. Should you be making plans for? Should you just be relaxing? And at that point in time, I was putting things in place because I'm by nature a planner. I like to make sure that everything is worked out. So by the time I got the notification from the visa center to come for my package, I was ready to go. And I remember sitting in my car, opening the package, reading the letter, and realizing I was rejected. And for me, it was different from the first rejection, because in the first instance when I was rejected, I asked the Lord, why did you do this? Why did you do this? But I remember clearly when I read that letter of rejection, my question to the Lord is, what will you have me to do with this? Because I'm sure you are the one who wants me to be on this journey. You are the one who planted this desire in me from the first instance. I got the rejection in 2014. I was okay. I'm all right. Let's just see how life is going to play out for me in Jamaica. But you brought a series of things together. You brought me to this point. Now I'm holding a rejection letter in my hand. What will you have me to do? And right there, seated in my car, the Lord spoke to me and told me exactly what to do. And when God speaks to us, we need to understand that He's not planning to trick us. He's not planning to set us up for failure. When He speaks, He's going to back up every word that He has spoken. So while whatever He was instructing me to do would require favor on top of favor, I knew it came from Him, so I wasn't worried. And I had to make a phone call like shortly after those words came to me. And when I made the phone call and asked the person, would you be able to pay my plane fare, and I give you back in a couple of weeks, and the person's response was yes, I was like, that must be God, because I don't know if Samantha is surrounded by rich friends, but that wasn't my case. I didn't know, that you have people just sitting down on money like that. But He instructed me, God directed me to make a particular phone call, and when I made the phone call, the person was able to respond to the request that I was making. And everything that I would have used months to prepare for the first application, within hours and days, like up to probably 2 days, everything that I needed Every single thing that I needed was at my fingertips. Everything, the money, the proof that the visa center had asked for, every single thing that they wanted, I was able to provide it. So I reapplied because that's exactly what the Lord told me to do. Reapply. And it did
Okay,
so.
so you after doing it the first time, you rejected, you okay, and then after all of that process, you found that you found it on Facebook. You that was a connection. You got a agency and you did everything, but you got a second rejection. But
Yes,
right here, the Lord spoke to you to say reapply. So was
yes,
that you act on?
yes.
Wow.
Right there and then reapply. And it would have almost felt as if it's an impossibility, God. But because I said to him, what will you have me to do? And he responded. It was almost like I felt like a little Samuel in the moment when Eli said, the next time you hear the voice, say, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. And when he said that, the Lord spoke to him. And just by saying to the Lord, what will you have me to do with this? This is where we're at. I'm holding a rejection letter in my hand. And he said, reapply. And so I now had to be very sensitive to every single thing. I didn't want to operate in Davene mode. So I had to be very careful to make sure that every single thing was being God directed. And he set me up just like that. Everything that I needed,
So
I got it in the moment.
you acted on that faith on that word. It would have been a prophetic word, a mighty one. So you
Yes,
acted on that word,
I
and
acted
how
on
soon
it.
after that you reapply?
Yes, it was just couple days, and it's almost like, but that's impossible because you know how sometimes these organizations will tell you you have to wait until a certain time and whatever. But God told me to reapply. He never told me to wait until 6 months. So He told me to reapply. Now we're in the month of July. School for me would have started in September. I needed to come on, I needed to go, and God said go, so I was going, as He said. And um applying reapplying, sorry, and within 6 days getting a response, which usually is not the case. When you apply 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you're waiting, God knew I didn't have 2, 3 weeks. He knew that. And so he allowed them to respond to me in 6 days. And when they responded to me, I was holding a visa in my passport. And for me, that was like, okay, God, so what next? Because my relationship with God allows me to question Him. I don't know what theology anybody else subscribe to, but my relationship with God allows me to have conversation with Him and to question Him. So, okay, God, what next? But before I continue on the next, I remember in the waiting process, something magnificent happened. And when you see the word knows on this book, it doesn't mean only the opposite of yes, but it also meant numbers, the shortened form of numbers. So God speaks through me through numbers. Now, if you notice in my introduction, I said that I study mathematics. I always have an affinity and a love for numbers and number patterns. And it was just during this time of waiting on God that I was now being made aware that numbers would be a way in which He would use to communicate to me. And it blew my mind. So He kept giving me some numbers and they matched up with dates that related to me going from Jamaica to Canada. So I was comforted in that. But also, he was now impressing on me to write the book. And I'm like, Jesus, no, I am sufficient. I'm okay. I'm comfortable with being a teacher. That's a good enough title. I'll work with that. I don't need to add author to the list. And he kept impressing me. Like he was telling me, listen, I'm bringing you on a journey right now, and you need to write the vision and make it plain, basically. And so I made a barter with him. I said, Lord, if you want me to write this book, here's what is going to happen. You are going to tell me when to write it. You're going to give me the title and the format. And when you tell me exactly when to write it, every single thing from start to finish that you want in that book, you are going at that moment to deposit it in me. Because as I said, I don't want to do a Davene thing. I want to do a God thing. And so I left it there. So let's now move forward to the fact that I got my visa, came to Canada, and life happened. And all the in-between stories of, the different ways in which God spoke to me through other experiences are all in the book. But one that stands out was when I finished my studies and now was trying to apply for what is called a postgraduate work permit. So when you're finished studying in Canada, you can apply for a work permit. And at that time, they were doing a pilot project where instead of sending your documents online, you could go to the Canadian border, submit your documents, and get your permit. So I'm like, okay, I'll try that. It just so happened that I was told that right at that moment. I'm like, this must be God saying let's go this route, because time was against me. And so I went to the border at the first opportunity that I got, and being told that my school is not on the list of institutions that are permitted to have their students apply for the work permit. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this again. No. However, the officer who I spoke to said to me, however, if you're going to do this, for what you have studied and for the work that you are going to go into, you're going to need to do a medical. So I'll suggest to you to do a medical. And I thought that was interesting that he said to me, no, you can't apply for it. But if you're going to go ahead by whatever means, then you need a medical. And for me, that kind of somehow gave me the impression that it's not over until it's over. And so while I remember also after leaving the border, trying to talk to my institution to find out what was happening, and they were like, no, we are registered, we are a certified institution, we have done this for other international students, so we're not sure what's going on, but keep us informed. And so I was like, the only person I need to be in communication with right now is God. Like this nobody else can solve this but God. So I said to the Lord, okay, you are the one who brought me to this point in the journey. It has always been a me and you journey. What next? What's going to happen? What do I need to do? Tell me. And I remember the chief officer from the border called me, which was weird to me, because where you get the top officer in anybody's organization calling you to say something. And when he called me, he said to me, Miss Harris, I don't know how else to break the news to you, but we have searched all our systems. And what we told you before, that's what it is. Your institution, we can't find it. It doesn't seem to be an awarding institution. So we're not certain how to help you from here. And in that moment, Samantha, I felt as if I was supposed to be feeling like so disappointed, so downcast, but I'm telling you, that moment for me was like a peace of God that I've never experienced ever in my life flooded my bedroom as I hung up the phone. I told the man, thank you. And after I felt that peace, I just found myself with my hands lifted. And I just started to thank the Lord for everything, for every mountain, every valley, every rejection, every yes, every no. I just started to thank Him. And I said, God, I thank you for what you're going to do next, because you brought me here. And whatever, if it meant that I was going to go back to Jamaica, then fine. I'm okay with that. I said, whatever you are going to do, God, I'm okay with it. And so that was my stance. That was my posture. Whatever you're going to do, Lord, I'm all right. And He directed me to another border, because I think we have about 3 borders. Where I live, I'm close to 3 different borders. And so He directed me to another border. And would you believe it, Samantha? The name of that border is called the Peace Bridge.
Mighty God.
So in the moment, mighty God, I'm feeling it now. Thank you, Jesus. In the moment when I was supposed to feel all sorts of negative feelings, I felt the peace of God, and then He directed me
The peace bridge.
to the peace bridge. I was like, okay, God, okay, God, okay, God.
Full of humor. Oh God.
And so I went. I followed His instructions and I went. Samantha, I kid you not, within the space of 2 hours of going to the border, I walked out of that building with my permit in my hand.
Wow.
The same permit that I was told a couple weeks before that I wouldn't have been granted because my school wasn't on the list.
Wow. Wow. Just wow.
Gratitude, I will say this to all who are viewing right now. Gratitude is very important. So for me, in the moment of saying thanks to the Lord, when I heard bad news, it set me up for still being in a state of thankfulness. So when I got the permit, I was so grateful and I was like, thank you, Lord. But as per usual, it's what next because the journey continues. And so started to work, and my other application process now would be for permanent residence. And I anticipated everything that would happen. I was like, God, whatever is going to happen, let's do it. Let's go. Let's get the ball rolling. And so I remember telling myself, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I am very timely about this. I'm going to make sure that I don't waste any time. I get everything, all the parties who need to be involved, I'm going to get them on board, make sure all that needs to be done is done. And I had moments where I felt as if, okay, God, do I just need to pack my bags and go back home because what's going on? Why are these processes taking longer than I thought? Why am I trying to set up my profile and I'm being told that I'm ineligible? Like, what's going on, God? And every single time I asked God that what question, whatever the what question was, and I sat in the moment, He would speak to me. Is either He's telling me right then and there what to do, or He's telling me who to get the advice or the help from. And I found that so amazing. So once again, I will pause to say, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's okay to question God. If you consider what you have with God a relationship and you converse with Him, a part of communication and conversation is you ask questions so that you can get answers. All right? So I'm sorry to trouble your theology of what you've been taught. Don't question God, no answer, no question. He's in charge. No, it's okay. I come to tell you today that it's okay to ask God questions. Read back your Bible and you will see that there are many times when people in the Bible questioned the Lord and He responded to them. That's what relationship is about. All right. So I wanted to drop that in there. And I remember the PR process was mainly smooth. But when I got to the place of submitting my application and having to deal with not being sure of what to do, I had to rest in what happened previously. And so it's always important to store your previous experiences, because when you feel as if God is not going to come through for you, believe you me, when you draw back on those experiences, you settle. You settle yourself and you know, so right, if He did it before, He will do it again. And so I remember, if I should point out any particular incident that happened during the process of waiting for my PR, doing the application, just wanting specific documents and, them not coming through on time, and also getting to a point of immigration responding to me to say that my unique name, Davene Christine Renee Harris, came up on some system that matches some criminal activity. Well, Jesus, what is this one now? What is this, oh God? Oh? And so I was just so relaxed because I'm like, okay, I know myself. I didn't do anything. I just follow whatever they said. I submitted whatever they asked for, And at the moment when I was supposed to receive my PR, they emailed me to say the photographs you submitted didn't meet the requirements, so please resend photos. I'm like, okay. The roller coaster ride continues. So every time I think I'm going to, be successful, then something happens. All right, good. Let us submit the photos. And I did. But in the midst of all of that, I had to travel twice. I had to go to a wedding in New York and I had to go to a wedding in Jamaica. And so because I was in between status right now, I needed to have a visa to travel. And so in applying for the visa, I wasn't so sure. I tell anybody who wants to come to Canada, let me just whisper this part. Going on their immigration website can be a little bit challenging. So don't fear. If you need help when you're filling out those forms, ask for it because it can be very tricky. So I met on those challenges, applying for the visas, then realizing after I paid for them that I never needed a visa to go across the border to the States because I wasn't flying. I was driving across the border, so I never needed a visa. So I had to ask them to refund that money to me, which they usually don't do. But in my case, thankfully, they did. Then for the one to go to Jamaica now, it was coming upon the time like I needed to go. And because I hadn't gotten my PR at the time, because they wanted no new photos, I really needed the visa. So please let me get my visa. I need to go to Jamaica. And right in the nick of time, my visa approval came. But also my approval for my permanent residence. So I needed to submit the passport. And I'm like, okay, God, what do I do now? They need the passport for the PR and they need the passport for the visa. What do I do? So right there, I had to call a friend. The friend said, Davene, do the PR one. You might never know. And I remember also I needed to put this point in there. Having another acquaintance of mine, just checking, how your process is going or whatever. And she also knowing that I was supposed to go to Jamaica. She's like, Davene, there is no way under heaven you will get back your passport in time to go to Jamaica. And I was like, sorry, that's not what God told me. So I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. And I remember going home from church at Sunday afternoon and I had to apologize to the Lord. I said, God, I am so sorry for putting people in our business because this was between me and you. I am sorry for getting other people involved in it. Her telling me that something that never matched up with God, what God was saying, I felt rebuked about it. I had to apologize to the Lord. I'm like, I'm sorry, God. And so within a couple of days, I got my passport back. I was able to travel to Jamaica and then on my return confirm my permanent residence.
Wow, and we want to pause to celebrate right now. I tell you.
And I
right
can feel
we pause to celebrate. We want to share this quote. It says, disappointments are just God's way of saying, I've got something better. Be patient, live life, and have faith. I tell you. Oh my God, after hearing so much, no. And then I tell you the part, David, where you said you went to Peace Bridge, it have a buzz.
telling you that
My
feeling
God.
was so surreal. It was just so surreal. You've heard about the peace of God, but there's nothing like encountering it. I felt so loved that day when the man said, David, there's nothing else we can say to you. And just having that peace of God encompassing me, it was so amazing. So to give some timestamps now, so I left Jamaica. I got my student visa August 2016. And by August 2018, I was being confirmed as a permanent resident of Canada. Which when I say that to people, they are shocked because how do you move from student to permanent resident in 2 years? And every time I'm asked that question, I have one answer: God. I don't know anything else. For me, moving from that state to that state in that short space of time is God. And the journey, went on a little bit more because confirming my residency now, I never had the actual card in my hand, but I was a PR on paper. And so I'm like, I have a family reunion in November. I need my card. So let's hope everything goes on. Same thing. You apply to them and they wait until when you're supposed to be getting your actual document now to say to you, we need additional stuff from you. And I'm like, I've been through this before. Let's go ahead and do it. And then I started to figure out what do I need to do in order to travel, because I needed to go to the reunion. So I needed to apply for an extra travel document, which I was told that I didn't have to do it in Canada. I could do it when I go to Jamaica. So I decided to do that. Came off the plane and went straight to the Canadian Visa Center and applied for the travel document. And usually those documents would take longer to be processed. For whatever reason, I don't know, only God. Within 3 working days, I got back my passport with my travel document, which allowed me to go to Canada after my reunion, my family reunion in Jamaica. And while I was in Jamaica, my aunt in Canada said to me, your PR card has arrived. And for me, that was like the culmination basically of a journey of hearing no's and then getting to a point, God using numbers and then getting to a point now of saying, here is your yes. And when I got that was when God said to me, it's now time to write the book. And I was like, oh, thank God, all right. And so he gave me the title, he gave me the format, and as promised, he deposited every single thing from 2014 to 2018, and it can be found in the, I think, 172 pages, yes, of this book. And so that basically is my journey.
Awesome, 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 awesome. I tell you, oh my God, desire and determination must overcome disappointment. We have heard it today. Davene have been persistent, and she imposed on us today that even we should forget about the theory that we once had about not questioning God, and I've heard it before. And it's okay to ask God, along with the determination, along with all that you have been faced with. I know even for all that is happening right now outside, I tell you, being disappointed, being set back because things change, whatever is happening is just off. And you might feel as though you don't want to continue. You don't know how to continue. You don't want to. Every door has been shut in your face. Before we close this broadcast, I'm going to have Davene to share with us and encourage anyone that right now in your season, you have been faced with a no. You have been faced with a shut door, with a disappointment. You might be crying your eyes out. You might be weeping. You might be throwing all the vision through the door, through the window, and just say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Well, you hear today that she has been persistent. She held on to the desire. She talked to God. She spoke to him. She questioned him. She asked, what next? And even in all of that, one of the things that stood out, she said that while she learned to be grateful, gratitude, when you are grateful, even when you are going through that phase of disappointment, you can now transfer the gratitude and the gratefulness to the happy moment, to the yes, So the joy, it just comes. It's just transferable. It just comes right over. Woo! Over in it. Oh my God. So I'm
Yes.
going to let her just pour into your spirit today and encourage your heart as we are ready to close.
Yes, and so I want to leave with you a thought, and I made mention of it in the book because I remember stumbling upon the bookmark in my Bible one day when I was just going through. It says that when God is about to do something beautiful, he begins with a difficulty. And I want to say to you, the difficult moment that you are experiencing right now is showing you that there is some beauty that's coming out of it. So you don't have to feel as if you need to stop what you're doing and throw in the towel. What you need to do in this moment is to walk through it with God. A relationship with God is very paramount. It's very important. So make sure that you are seated at the feet of Jesus, that you are talking to him, and that you are listening to him because he speaks. But you make sure that you are being sensitive and obedient to what he has to say. Don't discount your disappointments. Take a note of them and ensure that as you go from day to day, trusting in God and putting your faith in him, that when he brings you over, you share his goodness, that you show gratitude, and that you let God know how appreciative you are of the journey. And when you get to that high point, be prepared for what's coming next because God is not through with you yet.
Awesome, I tell you. Thank you so much, Davene, for sharing your interesting and powerful testimony and journey with us. I am sure a lot of person will be able to somewhat identify because we all go through disappointing times. It is said sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together. What a beautiful note to end on. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to subscribe, leave your comments. And if it is that you want to share your testimony on Broken to be Blessed Network, let me know also. Thank you again, David, for being here. I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us on Broken to be Blessed Network. Thank you again. Bye bye, everyone, and take care. And see you